Here are a few of the most interesting gold diggers. Number 9. Crystal Harris. Whenever you think of Hugh Hefner and his Playgirls, your mind definitely gravitates to gold digging. It's definitely about the fame and the power for most of the girls. His third wife, Crystal Harris, is a special case of gold digger. She was the type to admit her ways. As you'd expect, she was a former Playboy cover star. Harris met Hefner during a Halloween party at the Playboy mansion in 2008. They hit it off and got engaged 3 years later. However, she called off their wedding 5 days before the wedding was supposed to take place. That month's cover of Playboy had already been designed featuring her as Mrs. Crystal Hefner. Because she had cold feet, a sticker was placed on the cover over Harris that read, "Runaway Bride." On top of canceling the wedding, Harris appeared on a radio show where she revealed that she didn't find Hefner attractive at all. Yep, she pretty much admitted she was just there for the fame and money. However, she later apologized for her comments, and Hefner even took her back. They ended up tying the knot on New Year's Eve 2012 at the Playboy mansion. Well, obviously he had no concerns about whatever she said. Hugh Hefner's marriage to Crystal Harris might have seemed like a sham, but to their credit, they seemed happy together. Harris remained married to Hefner all the way until his last days. However, Harris was reportedly not included in Hefner's will after they signed an ironclad prenup. The Playboy founder's $43 million fortune was divided between his 4 children, but apparently Harris was still going to be, quote, looked after. Number 8. Evelyn Lozada. Evelyn Lozada may just be the greatest gold digger of the 2000s, even if she didn't get the most money. It's just that her track record lets us know what she's really about. Lozada was last engaged to ex-superstar baseball player Carl Crawford for close to 3 years. They got engaged in Christmas 2013 and they had a kid together in 2014. But in 2017, she moved on. That was the same year Crawford called it quits in baseball. You may think that it's because he's not bringing home the big checks anymore. That is true. But he still had plenty of money in the bank. She actually wanted to stay together. The problem was her. Apparently, Crawford got cold feet when Evelyn played hardball on a prenup. She supposedly demanded half of his fortune in their prenup. What's the point of a prenup if she's just going to take half? Obviously, he decided not to sign the prenup, and they never got married. Smart move. The breakup wasn't exactly shocking for anyone because Evelyn has a reputation of gold-digging professional athletes. Reportedly, even Crawford's former teammates' wives called her out as a gold digger. This isn't the first time Lozada was accused of gold digging. She was very briefly married to former Bengals wide receiver Chad Johnson. They got divorced in 2012, and Johnson last played in 2011. And before Chad Johnson was engaged to Antoine Walker. They broke up in 2009. Walker last played in 2008. Have you seen the pattern here yet? Antoine Walker accused her of ditching their relationship when he ran into financial trouble. He went on a radio show and said that Evelyn reaped a lot of the benefits when the cash was coming in, but when money got tight, she chose to leave. Yep, that's a life lesson Walker had to learn the hard way. Don't be with anyone who wouldn't do the same for you. Number 7. Mackenzie Bezos. Okay, let's get one thing straight. The term gold digger certainly doesn't apply to all marriages. And even if a split ends up with the other person getting a lot of money, it doesn't mean that someone was in it for the money all along. And the Bezos divorce is the biggest proof of that. Mackenzie Bezos got the most money in history from a divorce. When the divorce first became public, the internet was shocked by the fact that Jeff didn't have a prenup to protect his billions. But they had been together since Jeff's start when he didn't have much money. What they should have noticed was that Jeff is the one that cheated and filed for divorce. They were married a year before Amazon was founded. Even though technically Jeff made all those billions during the marriage, that's not to say Mackenzie's support didn't have any influence on his success in any way. Neither Jeff nor Mackenzie knew that Amazon was going to be as successful as it is. She was taking on the risk the same as he was. If Amazon failed, she would have been responsible with any of Jeff's financial problems as well. Mackenzie has a bachelor's degree from Princeton and worked for Jeff Bezos when he was a hedge fund manager before Amazon was conceived. They got married in 1993, and Amazon was started a year later in the back of their family garage. She stepped away from Amazon in its early years to raise their 4 children. In short, she's not exactly someone who couldn't have made her own money. And without her support, who knows how things could have turned out for Jeff Bezos. Mackenzie almost certainly gave up her own professional ambitions to further his, and may well have created her own independent fortune had Jeff never been in the picture. But they decided to team up and they both did their part. So in this instance, we don't think it's it's unfair for her to take half, especially when Jeff messed up. After their divorce settlement, Mackenzie instantly became one of the world's richest women thanks to an estimated $35.7 billion that went straight into her personal account. Number 6. Oksana Grigorieva. Oksana Grigorieva is no stranger to dating men with money. She's a Russian singer, songwriter, and pianist who grew up in Russia. Her first marriage was in 1989 when she was married for 3 months to a random Russian lawyer. That Russian lawyer cash flow wasn't enough for her, so in 1992, she married a British artist named Nicholas Rowland, but then they broke up and she started a relationship with actor Timothy Dalton, who played James Bond in a couple of Bond movies. They had a kid together, but their relationship ended in 2003. However, she really hit the jackpot in 2007 when she started dating Mel Gibson. They never got married, but they had a daughter together in 2009. Is this theme starting to sound familiar? By April 2010, they had already split up. To make a long story short, they started going to court over child support payments. There were also the, let's just call it, allegations she had against Mel Gibson. Gibson wasn't allowed to go near her or their daughter. In 2010, Gibson offered her a settlement worth approximately $15 million, but she refused it. That backfired on her because in 2011, when she settled with Gibson, she got a lot less. She was awarded $750,000 and a house to live in until their daughter Lucia turns 18. After that, the house would be sold and the money would turn into a trust fund for Lucia. A couple of years later, she sued her lawyers because she said they gave her bad advice. She said that they had gotten her to sign a poor agreement, and of course, she broke the agreement she had. In 2014, Oksana chose to talk about Mel Gibson on Howard Stern's radio show. Yeah, that was a mistake that cost her almost $400,000 because under their agreement, she wasn't supposed to discuss him at all. Oksana filed for bankruptcy shortly after her interview on Stern. She claimed that she was so broke, she had only $10 in cash to her name and $48,000 in assets. Her debt came in at a staggering $500,000. Should have just taken that $14 million settlement earlier, but she probably would have gone broke anyways. Number 5. Chris Judd. Who says that women are the only gold diggers out there? There are definitely guys out there doing the same thing. Jennifer Lopez and Chris Judd met back in 2000 when she was hired to direct and dance in her music video, Love Don't Cost a Thing. They had a whirlwind romance and got married less than a year later in September 2001. But by June 2002, they were already divorced. The loss of privacy because of her superstardom bothered him, but apparently that's not the reason why they divorced. He's been quoted multiple times saying that things just didn't work out. But after being married for only around 9 months, Chris got away with $6.6 million. Now sure, $6.6 million might not seem like much compared to the other mega-sized divorce settlements, but if you do the math here, J-Lo was paying him roughly $750,000 per month of marriage. You would think that Kevin Federline would have made this list, but he actually didn't get too much. Brittany and K-Fed got married after only 3 months of dating. This was while Kevin's ex-girlfriend was pregnant with his kid. They were married for less than 3 years, and he ended up only getting $20,000 per month in child support from Brittany. Yep, Chris Judd definitely secured the bag. Maybe there should be some rapper's backup plan when they go broke. Find out more here. Number 4. The Ecclestone situation. Wait a minute. Bernie Ecclestone is a gold digger? Technically, sorta. It's an interesting situation, and that's why it made it on this list. Formula One billionaire Bernie Ecclestone may be the world's best kept man because of a technicality. Since the divorce from his second wife Slavica, he's received more than $500 million from his ex-wife's trust fund. Needless to say, it's a very unusual agreement. Rather than the billionaire giving money to his ex-wife after getting divorced, she paid him roughly $100 million a year. When he and Slavica, who's 28 years younger and almost a foot taller, divorced in 2009, most people assumed that she was going to get one of the biggest divorce settlements in history. They had been married for 24 years, so you kinda knew what was going to happen. After all, technically the wealthier spouse is the one who pays the ex. And Bernie Ecclestone, with a net worth of $3.1 billion at the time, is plenty wealthy. So why did she end up paying him? Well, in the late 90s, Ecclestone's assets were transferred into Slavica's name when he was suffering from serious heart problems. He had a triple bypass in 1999. If he didn't make it, the inheritance would have been left to his daughters. However, the problem is the money would have been subjected to British taxes at the rate of a whopping 40%. So, yeah, he transferred everything to his wife's name. So while Bernie was the one who made the billions, his ex-wife technically held the deeds and pink slips on a number of his assets. So it looked like she was the wealthier one to the courts. Interestingly enough, today Bernie is married to an even younger woman than his second wife, and Bernie and Fabiana Flossie are about to have their first kid together. Yep, he's gonna be a dad at age 89. Number 3, Jocelyn Wildenstein. Jocelyn Wildenstein is as well known for her huge divorce settlement as she is for her looks. Jocelyn met ex-husband Alec Wildenstein in 1977 while on a safari with friends in Kenya. Alec Wildenstein is a billionaire art dealer who came from a family of art collectors and horse racing experts. After a year of marriage, Jocelyn started to use his wealth for extensive cosmetic surgeries. She and Alec even got his and her eye lifts. According to a number of biographies, she kept changing her appearance to look more feline. She spent millions of dollars on surgeries and kept a lynx as a pet, often saying that the lynx has perfect eyes. Alec and Jocelyn Wildenstein divorced in 1999, and that entitled her to a whopping $2.5 billion and an annual $100 extra million for the following 13 years. The funny thing was, even the judge told her not to use her alimony payments for any more cosmetic surgery. Despite being awarded that much money, she still filed for bankruptcy in 2018. Find out why and how here. Number 2, Anna Nicole Smith. In her short but fast 39 years of life, Anna Nicole Smith definitely left her mark on the world. She was actually born Vicky Lynn Hogan. She grew up poor and dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. But that didn't stop her from becoming one of the most famous faces during the 90s. Her cover on Playboy and also her signing to Guess Jeans made her a household name. But before she got famous, she met one person who would completely change her life. In 1993, when she was 26, she met 89-year-old Texas oil tycoon billionaire James Howard Marshall. They had met while she was performing at a club for gentlemen. They went on and got married the following year, despite a full 63-year difference. Obviously, she immediately got the gold digger label. She insisted that she married him for love, not for the money. She said that Marshall took her out of a terrible place and cared for her and her son from her first marriage, so in return, she decided to take care of him. Well, to be fair, that's definitely one type of love, but we wouldn't call that romance. Anyways, a quick 13 months later, her new husband went on to the next life. And much to the outrage of his family, Smith sued for half of her late husband's $1.6 billion estate. She claimed that while he didn't include her in his will, he had intended to set up a trust to provide for her, just like he did when he had set up a trust for his family. Marshall's son, who inherited almost the entire estate, argued that his dad had already been adequately generous to his trophy wife. He gave her plenty of gifts and treated her to a lavish lifestyle. The whole thing went back and forth for a long time. In 2006, she ended up at the United States Supreme Court still fighting for her inheritance a full 11 years later. She was initially awarded roughly $450 million, but that verdict was later dismissed. The sad thing is that her and Marshall's son both passed before the case could ultimately be resolved years later. Number 1, Milica Marjanovic. Have you heard of Bojan Marjanovic? He played for the Detroit Pistons, and he's one of the tallest people in the NBA. He and his wife have to keep brushing off the negative comments about their massive height difference. And at first glance, you may think this case is a classic gold digger case. But apparently they actually fell in love before he was rich and famous. And she actually finds the comments people on the internet say about them to be really funny. Milica Marjanovic is a full 2 feet shorter than her 7'3" tall husband. She often laughs about their height difference by posting photos and videos on social media highlighting their 2-foot gap. However, not all of the comments are well-meaning. Some of them are clearly accusing her of marrying the NBA star for the money only. According to her, when someone's truly happy and happy in life, just as she is, they don't pay attention to crazy comments. People can think what they think. And she's right. If the comments aren't true, it doesn't make sense to pay attention to them. They've been together for more than a decade and now have 2 children. Mrs. Marjanovic says she finds her husband's hectic schedule more challenging than the fact that he towers over her big time. Well, there used to be a hectic schedule anyways before quarantine became a thing. When they first started dating, she was mostly bothered by the fact that they couldn't make any plans together because of his schedule. Birthdays, anniversaries, and celebrations generally used to pass by without him being around. However, both of their families pretty much got used to this lifestyle. Hey, whatever it takes to generate that cash flow. Watch this next video to find out about rappers who went broke.